why did you ask for ceasefire? Well, first, it was important to make it so that we are there to condemn the terrorist attacks of October 7, the worst terrorist attacks against Israel of the history of Israel. At the heart of our foreign policy, there was always the right for Israel to exist, that's fundamental, but at the same time, the protection of civilians. And at this stadium, we think that the cycle of violence only progresses, that it's important to make sure that there's a ceasefire for a humanitarian reason, so that the hostages can be freed, so that humanitarian help can be brought there, and that finally we can launch the process of negotiation where Hamas will never be at the table of negotiation, but we have to find a solution, which is the only option at the table to make sure that someday Israelis and Palestinians can live side by side in peace and security. You're saying now that Israel went too far. Today, the target, the objective, is to send a strong message in link with what other partners doing across the world, including New Zealand and Australia, but also note that France, Japan, and other G7 countries are supporting this because it's important to launch this message. It's important also that many actors of the region, whether it's the Arab countries of the region or the G7 countries, together we work. I'll finish my answer so that we can together we can work on a sustainable peace in the region.
Why did it take close to 20,000 deaths for the government to start using the word ceasefire?
First and foremost, I think that the humanitarian pause that we saw 2 weeks ago was necessary, but also very helpful. Half of the hostages were released, and nearly 200 trucks were able to get into Gaza to provide humanitarian aid. When this pause ended, of course, we saw that the resumption of violence was devastating. And we're pushing for this humanitarian pause to start again. Because, as I said, hostages need to be released, humanitarian aid needs to be allowed in, and I'm sorry, I'll just finish my answer. And of course, what we want to do is that this humanitarian pause needs to lead to a sustainable ceasefire. And it is the only way, we believe, that at this point, we can get to a lasting peace in the Middle East. And we think that for too long, the two-state solution has been put on the back burner. For too long, there's been skepticism towards the two-state solution. And we need to get back on track, and we need to make sure that we have the conversation to be able to get to a Palestinian state next to an Israeli state that are able to live side by side in peace and security.
Is the only reason why you're calling for a ceasefire because you're losing Muslim support and donors in Canada? What is the change on the ground in Israel that changes your government's position so dramatically from a week ago?
I've just answered that question because I think the fact that the humanitarian pause happened was important. Following the fall of negotiation, I'm sorry, Mariki, let me answer the question. So following the humanitarian pause ending and the resumption of violence, of course we took stock of what was happening. And we saw that there's been just more thousands of deaths happening in Gaza. And we think that hostages that are still in Gaza, held by a terrorist organization, which is Hamas, need to be released. I've been having so many diplomatic conversations and tough conversation with the Israeli government, with also the Palestinian Authority over the weekend, and also with many members from either the Western countries or Arab League countries. And at one point, what we need to all agree upon is the need for a lasting peace.
What will Canada practically do
Sorry, I can't hear you.
What will
j'ai répondu en français.
What will Canada practically do to advance this lasting peace, and what are you asking from Israel and Hamas to do to achieve that?
What I'm asking, what I'm clearly asking for, And I would say my only expectation towards Hamas is for Hamas to lay down its weapons, period. They're a terrorist organization. We will never recognize them. What I want Canada to do in the next weeks and months is to be a reliable partner, to bring back the question of the two-state solution as a credible path toward lasting peace. And that is why I met with my counterparts from Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the Palestinian Authority over the weekend. That is why also I spoke to France, the UK, Germany, and I've been in contact also with my counterpart in the US about this issue. And we will continue to be a reliable partner in that context, but more than that, we will continue to bring much more credibility to this process because we believe that it is at the core of Canada's foreign policy for the past 30 years, and now is the opportunity to bring things back on track.